until showtime.
That is about 98. That's not too bad. You want to try one more time? See if we can break 100? Yeah, it's all right. That'll do. That'll do.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Now, from the world's most famous beach, from where beach racing began, it's the Legends of Racing radio show, live from racing's North Turn Beach Bar and Grill in Ponce Inlet, Florida. The Legends of Racing radio show with your host, Buzz McKim, and co-host, Gary Keller.
All right. Hey, thank you, everybody. Well, Gary's not here. He went back up to Ohio for a while, but we've got Rich Combs here, everybody. How about a big round of applause for Rich?
Thank you.
There we go. And we got a great show today, and this is something I've been looking forward to for a while because this fella and I go back well over 50 years.
Well over 50 years, Buzz. Yeah. I was a track photographer at DeLand Speedway when your dad was announcing there.
Oh, boy.
And I remember when you were painting and lettering race cars, and when I needed to get my son out of the crib into a bed, I built him a Can-Am style race car bed, and you lettered it for me.
That's right.
And he's 53 years old now.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Holy cow. So we do go back a ways. This is Mr. Don Bach, everybody.
Don.
Well, the dean of auto racing photographers, whether he's willing to admit it or not, but he spent 58 years at Daytona Speedway. And it's one thing when you got nice weather for the Daytona 500 or whatever, but he used to shoot the motorcycles and
sports cars too,
and sports cars in the rain, in the snow flurries, nasty weather. I don't know how you did it, and you always got good pictures.
Yeah, well, that was the ultimate goal.
yeah.
Yeah, I did. I have taken pictures. I was born and raised in Daytona, so I've never been around a lot of snow, but I've been standing in the fourth turn at Volusia County Speedway during speed weeks and had snow flurries falling on me.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And there's nowhere to go to protect yourself.
Oh, and then when I shot Le Mans in France, it was pouring down rain.
Oh, my gosh.
And I'll never forget, the grandstands were packed solid. And when it started pouring down rain, not the first person got up and left. Everyone sat right there in the rain.
Is that right? Wow.
I actually won an award with a picture of Jackie Ickx driving a Porsche in the driving rain and with headlights on. The headlights lit the wet road up, and then the big rooster tail behind it and all that.
Boy.
I actually won an award with that picture.
Oh, that's amazing. But you had that eye, that certain eye of the artist for getting just the right frame.
My dad was a photographer, and when I was a real youngster, we moved just about every time the rent came due, and I spent a big part of my life sleeping on a cot in the dark room and playing with film spools for toys because we didn't have any money to buy any toys.
Right.
And that should have been a clue right there that photography is not the way to make a living.
Oh, man. Did you have any heroes growing up, any photographers that you looked up to?
Yeah, I surely did. And that's one of the things that bothers me, that my tenure at the Speedway ended at 58 years, because Roy Miller used to shoot for UPI, and he was still out the Speedway shooting viable pictures at 90.
Oh my gosh.
And I don't expect that I'll be here at 90, but I wanted to put 60 years in
Yeah.
at the Speedway and then quit. But NASCAR had other ideas.
Jeez. That doesn't seem right. No.
It is what it is.
Yeah. But Roy Miller, he was one of the grand old masters, wasn't he?
Who?
Roy Miller.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He always shot for the wire services, so he did all kinds of stuff. But he was a really good racing photographer too,
Mm-hmm.
and a good friend of mine. And of course, I had a lot of other good friends in photography. Pal Parker was one of my dearest friends.
Oh yeah.
His son Russ Parker is still one of my very close friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I owe a lot to Marty Gross, who's dead now, because he's the one that was responsible for me getting my job at the Speedway.
Really?
And yeah, I had a Jaguar XK 150 back then.
Mm-hmm.
And
Speaking of Mr. Parker, look who we got right here.
hey, there's Russ
We just talked about your dad a second ago.
and him.
And him.
But I belonged to a sports car club that was having sports car rallies, and Tom McCahill was doing articles for Mechanics Illustrated, and he wanted the club to put on a rally with the instruments blacked out,
Oh,
see
really?
who could come closest to the right time and score without being able to see the instruments.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's two parts to this story. One was my lovely wife was my navigator,
Mm-hmm.
and we got thoroughly lost, and I knew where the end place was, and so I got really upset, and I was running like 120 miles an hour, just drove straight back to where it ended, and I come in second place 30 seconds off the win.
I'll be darned.
But the other part of that story was Marty Gross was photographing that for Tom McCahill, and back then I had a Rolleiflex, a twin reflex camera, but it didn't have interchangeable lenses, and Marty Gross was shooting this with a twin lens that had telephoto lenses on it, and so I asked him about it, and he detected from the questions I was asking that I knew quite a bit about photography. So he said, you know, Taylor Warren out at the Speedway is looking for help. Why don't you call him and get a job at the Speedway? And I thought, wow, they don't want to hire a kid. I was probably 20 at the time, and for 2 years I put that off, and Marty kept telling me, you know, you need to call Taylor. So I finally called Taylor, and I got a job at the Speedway, and I was there like for 58 years.
Jeez.
And then when NASCAR bought out ISC, because I worked on the photo staff at ISC, and when NASCAR bought out ISC, I got an email saying I didn't work there anymore.
An email after 58 years. Jeez.
Yeah.
Boy, that just ain't right.
And
Well, I think that came from one individual who's no longer there anymore.
Well, that's good.
Well, but I'm not there either.
Yeah, you're not there. Really.
as a matter of years and trying to figure what year did you start, so we'll know where we're starting and going to.
I started shooting the beach at 1955.
Oh,
Really?
yeah,
Holy cow.
fantastic.
I skipped school and shot the flying mile pictures, and then my dad was good friends with Bill France, and Bill France, in his infinite wisdom of saving money, he conned the National Guard into being the guards down here. And so my dad was a lieutenant in the Guard, and I would jump in the back of the Deuce and a Half and come down here, and I was inside the turn. Matter of fact, some of those pictures I used to have that are taken from the outside of the turn that shows the people along the fence on the inside, you can see me in.
Really?
I had a picture of that.
I'll be darned.
I had one of those pictures that a friend of mine had, and he gave it to me. And like an idiot, I donated it to the Living Legends of Auto Racing's auction so they could make some money for the club.
You know, back in 1969, when the drivers went on strike at Talladega, Car and Driver magazine had a big spread in there about it, and there's several pictures of the drivers gathering around Bill France and complaining about the track and all that. And in one of those pictures, there's Don standing there bigger than life.
Yep, I was there for the very first Talladega race when they had that boycott.
Yep.
And I also covered Talladega all by myself one time when the sports cars were racing there. It was same time that NASCAR was at Darlington, so Taylor went to Darlington and he sent me to Talladega. And Bill France Jr. had a Ford Cortina he was running in that thing.
Right.
And I shot the sports car races by myself, and Taylor shot Darlington.
I'll be darned. So you shot those pictures of senior and junior in their Cortinas, huh?
Yep.
How about that? Yeah, we gave a picture of that to Bill Jr. for his 75th birthday. Had it nice and framed and everything. And I said, I see who's leading, because he was in the lead. He said,
Yep.
he said,
oh, yeah, Bill Jr. wasn't going to override his dad. But,
no.
Yeah, that was probably my picture because I was the only one there.
Isn't that
There was no Getty back then.
No. Did you ever shoot Road Atlanta or any of those tracks?
Yeah, I did. I won another award. And you talk about shooting in the rain. I went up there for a Can-Am race, and it was pouring down rain. And the start-finish line, they come across the start-finish line and come down. It's kind of like a little hill, and then they make a real hard right turn. And it was pouring down rain so hard that the rooster tails were huge, and only the front car could see.
Oh, my gosh.
And I couldn't understand how in the world they were going to make that turn.
Yeah.
Every one of them did. But I won an award with that horde of Can-Am cars coming down with giant rooster tails behind them, and the cars just barely the noses showing through the rain.
That's amazing.
I think Bobby Rahal was in the lead at that time.
Takes a lot of guts to do that.
Yeah, that's why I was never a race driver. I never had any guts. I had that Jaguar XK150 I used to run some Gymkhanas, and I'd get so nervous when I was at the starting line that my foot would be shaking. I never would have made a race car driver. I didn't have the guts.
Oh, my gosh.
It's same thing with the NFL. I shot the NFL for 11 years for Pro Football Weekly.
Really?
In Chicago, and I loved football, but when I was a senior in high school, I was 6'5" and I weighed 140 pounds.
Oh,
definitely wasn't a candidate for football. And so I did the next best thing. I pursued my love with my camera. And, my cameras have opened a lot of doors for me and given me a lot of pleasure in my life.
I'll bet.
I've seen a lot of things. Like one of the times when Taylor and I went to Talladega for the motorcycle races, and the Hells Angels and what's that other major?
Outlaws?
The Outlaws.
Yeah.
The Hells Angels and the Outlaws were fixing to have a war.
Oh, geez.
And Taylor and I snuck up on this little overtake where they were encamped, and I had a long lens, and I photographed them unwrapping shotguns and everything else out of blankets, and we took that to the police. And so they had encamped, the Outlaws had made an encampment in a circle like a wagon thing, and after the law authorities saw our pictures, they waited till dawn, and the Alabama State Troopers came out and put their cars, open the doors. The cars were just far apart where they could open the doors on both sides.
Yeah.
And a cop stepped out with a shotgun. They turned the lights and the sirens on and said, "Come out with your hands up."
Jeez, no kidding.
And they took them to a hangar at Talladega Airport. And I went in there to photograph them, and back then I was trying to be cool. I had a perm in my hair and had a beard, and they said, "Oh, look, there's Alabama's Mod Squad." Yeah, I've had some fun times with my camera.
That's outrageous.
Had some dangerous times too. I did some really stupid things in my life. Like I used to stand Volusia County Speedway, they called it Barberville back then. They just had a guardrail around the outside with old rotten telephone poles holding it up.
Yep.
And I used to stand on one of those poles.
Oh my gosh.
Outside the fourth turn. And I was standing there one day, and here come this car, hit the guardrail and flipped over and went down in the trees.
Jeez.
Because it felt, the turns are banked.
Yeah.
And I'm standing there looking, there goes that car right by me. So, and then another time I was standing up, they finally put a concrete wall down the front straight. Because I was a track photographer there for 38 years. And they put a concrete wall down the front straight, and I used to stand on that wall outside the fourth turn. And they were racing super modifieds there. And one of them was heading straight where I was at, and I figured it's going to flip up and smash me into the fence, and I'm going to be history. So I jumped off and like to killed myself jumping off. And the guy hit the barrels there that had water in them, and the water went all over me, and I thought it was gas. And I was scared to death. So I was pretty stupid, some things I did.
At the time, it seemed like a good idea, though, right?
Yeah. Well, like he was saying, certain people have a certain knack for getting good pictures, and I was always one that decided that I'd do whatever I needed to do to get a good picture. It wasn't always the most intelligent thing to do.
Right, but you got your shot, though.
Yeah. I remember one time, too, my wife, I had an MG back then, and a motorcycle racer at Daytona, and I got her a pass, and back then we were allowed to park out on the course. I had to work an official sticker. And I was parked on the tunnel. That was before they had the other fence down there. And I was parked on the tunnel, and she was sitting in the car watching the race, and a motorcycle spun out and slid up and slammed right into the door panel of my MG
really?
with her sitting in it.
Is that right? Holy cow.
Yeah, and another...
There's Norma right there. Raise your hand, Norma.
Hey, Norma.
and another time, back in the early days, I was standing up on the hill with Pal Parker and a bunch of other people, and Ralph Earnhardt spun out, and he started coming up the tunnel right at us. So I jumped off. I was biggest chicken. I was the first one off. Well, it damn near killed me because Pal Parker landed right on top of me, and so did everybody else. They all jumped after I did, and I got smashed between the fence and all those guys.
Holy cow.
So I've had a really interesting photography career.
Yeah. Hey, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with Don Bach and more stories.
Oh, yeah.
The caution flag is out. Time for
That's
a
great.
break. We'll be right back with the Legends of Racing Radio Show. At Beach Boys Embroidery and Tees, it's all about making you happy. Beach Boys Embroidery can customize your athletic golf apparel, caps, hats, badges, buttons, magnets, backpacks, bags, totes, clocks, watches, and of course, T-shirts. Sure, they're at 2033 South Ridgewood Avenue in South Daytona, and they're waiting for you to call now. 386-255-5880. Beach Boys Embroidery and Tees. Let Aloha Marine get you on the water with huge discounts on great brands like Bayliner, Carolina Skiff, Hurricane, Key West, and Regal. Pay as little as $169 a month with 10% down and approved credit. Don't wait. Get to Aloha Marine, 1700 North Nova Road, Holly Hill, Monday through Saturday. 47 years, and always better than boat show prices. We're back from where it all began. Racing's original North Turn Beach Bar and Grill. The Legends of Racing radio show continues with your host, Buzz McKim, and co-host, Gary Keller.
Thank you, everybody. We're here with Rich Combs today and Don Bach, and this segment's being brought to you locally by the Staples on International Speedway Boulevard. Anything for the office, they can do for you. And also, if you go to Legends of Racing Radio Show on YouTube, you can check out the show live, or you can go to Facebook and check it out an hour later. So when you get back home this afternoon, if you want to watch the show again, just go to Facebook, Legends of Racing Radio Show. So you should write a book. You should write a book.
Yeah, I should write a book. Of course, I probably should do like like Smokey Unique did, wait till I'm on my deathbed to write it, so they couldn't get the real things that I can't talk about on this show.
Yeah.
I would put in that book.
You and Smokey were pretty close, weren't you?
We were very close, and I did a lot of photography for Smokey. Matter of fact, he was doing articles for Mechanics Illustrated, and I photographed a lot of them. And also when he was real involved with some oil companies and oil that's like preservative stuff and non-friction stuff.
Oh,
like
yeah.
He developed some grease that when the tractor trailers would pivot on their mount, he developed some grease that never broke down.
Really?
And he used to have me photograph the product, pictures of it. And then I had taken a picture of him holding AMSOIL products, and they made a Lifetime Smokey stand-up of that.
Oh, no kidding.
And when he was in the hospital, and they had a racing show during Speed Weeks at the Ocean Center, they put that stand-up there in place of him because he couldn't be there.
Oh, I'll be darned.
Oh,
And I used to go out to the hospital and sit on the side of the bed and bench race with him. He had some amazing stories.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that. That was some enjoyable times. It was sad because he was dying, but still. And speaking of that, I think it's a dadgum crying shame he's not in the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
NASCAR Hall
That's
of
right.
Fame.
How many believe Smokey ought to be in the NASCAR Hall of Fame, huh?
all right.
Yeah,
Dude.
darn right. Yeah, maybe one of these days. We'll see. I've got a sticker on the back of my car that says Smokey belongs.
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
sure
for
does.
sure. He sure. If anybody belongs, he does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a brilliant man, that's for sure. Did you shoot his dogs, too?
Oh, I didn't shoot them, but they were always there, and they were huge. You know, I'm glad he had plenty of money, could feed them. And what always got me was he loved this little black Volkswagen that he drove.
Yeah.
Of all the cars he could drive, he drove a Volkswagen. Yeah, Smokey was a very special person.
Yeah, very unique. That's for sure.
And you know, my 58 years at the Speedway enabled me to make friends with a lot of people that most people would never even begin to be even around. You know, like Leonard Wood's a good friend of mine.
Oh, boy.
Richard Childress is a good friend of mine. Ryan Newman's a good friend of mine. Kenny Francis, who was a crew chief for years, and incidentally, Kenny started out at Volusia Speedway racing late models
Did
and
he?
ended up a crew chief
Oh,
for several different teams.
jeez.
And I just had a lot of friends out there, and that's what really hurts about not being there anymore. 'Cause I never see those people
Yeah.
anymore.
Oh, that stinks. Yeah, so, but they told you in an email, huh?
Yeah.
Jeez. Very unclassy, very classless.
Well, I don't want to burn any bridges any more than I've already burned them, so I won't go there.
Okay.
That's suffice it to say that I'm fairly bitter about the way it all came about.
Yeah, I would think so.
There's more to the story that I can't tell here, but I'll probably never get over that.
Yeah.
You know, they say don't hold a grudge. And I don't know if it's a grudge, but it hurts.
It's kind of hard not to.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Hey, Rich, you know, you were probably shot by Don when you were racing
That's
Road
what we were
Atlanta.
just talking about. He said he
Yeah.
raced sports
I'm
cars
sure.
at Daytona.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you
But
ran Daytona too, huh?
Yeah.
I didn't know him then, so I probably did take pictures of him, but I just didn't know it.
Yeah. We've crossed paths many, many times, but I didn't know him
Isn't that something?
because, you know, this is sort of a profession, a guy that's in the background of racing that becomes to the forefront,
Right.
but you never see him in the back.
Yeah.
And, you know, as I said earlier, you know, the key is he gets in the shoot racing and he gets into places that he can take a photograph that you and I couldn't get to. We wouldn't even think of being there. Somehow he senses there's going to be a great photograph here.
Exactly.
He gets there, he waits, and he knows it's happening, and he's ahead of time.
Yep.
It's like a driver that's on the track. When you're driving and you're doing 150 miles an hour at Daytona, you do things that you don't necessarily know exactly why, but you sense it and you do it and you're right.
Yeah.
And he's doing the same thing. It's just two different people in two different places.
Yeah, really.
Well, you know, a lot, just like 2 weeks ago, you had Bill Warner on there, another tremendous photographer.
Yeah.
And he made the point about it helps to be in the right place at the right time with the right equipment. And,
there you go.
Look, Johnny Allen,
Yeah, there he is right there. Johnny Allen,
great guy.
old NASCAR driver, raced on the beach right there.
Johnny.
Just came in. Hey, Johnny.
So, like Bill told the story about how he was supposed to shoot for 2 different magazines, so he gave me the job of one, and I got the picture he wished he'd have had because I was in the right place at the right time with the right equipment, and that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
And it's just like football. When I first started shooting football, I was shooting football with a 4x5 speed graphic that had a wire sports finder.
Oh, really?
And you couldn't see,
Oh.
so I would have to anticipate where the plate was going to go and manually pre-focus on that spot.
Holy cow.
And if the players came into that spot, I'd take the picture.
Really?
If they didn't come in that spot, I didn't shoot.
Oh, my gosh.
And so, yeah, I go way back to the Stone Age, you might say. There was no computers, no digital cameras, nothing
Yeah.
like that. And the 4x5 speed graphics had these slides you put in with just one piece of film in it. You got one shot and that was it, and then you
Yeah.
had to change it.
Oh, gee whiz.
Yep.
Man, no motor drive there, huh?
Nope.
Yeah. Well, I guess motor drives really opened up a whole new world for you, didn't they?
Yeah, back the first motor drive I ever had was a wind-up one that you screwed into the bottom of a little Nikon film camera. And, of course, the ones nowadays are unbelievable. They'll shoot faster frames than a movie camera shoots.
Really? Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, that's something. Now, do you have any recent equipment, any new equipment?
Well, that's one of the reasons I'm in the poorhouse right now because
Okay.
about 15 or 20 years ago, the Speedway came to us and said, if you don't have a digital camera, you won't work here anymore.
Jeez.
And they didn't provide the camera, but they had this deal with where Canon was the official camera of the Speedway, so we all had to buy digital Canon cameras. And the body alone was like $7,000.
Holy
goodness.
cow.
And then you had to buy lenses for it because the other lenses wouldn't. I had all Nikon stuff,
Right.
so I had to buy all these things. And that first camera wouldn't have made a good boat anchor. I mean, if you shot a whole series of images and you made a proof sheet up, it looked like a checkered flag. This one would be washed out. This one would be jet black. This one would be washed out. The next one might be close.
Jeez.
It was just a terrible, terrible camera. So they kept coming out with new models. And I think over the years that I worked at the Speedway, I think I ended up buying 6 of those $7,000
Holy
bodies.
cow.
And I'm still in debt on my credit card to this day from that.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And, you know, when they came and said, if you don't have a digital camera, you won't work here anymore, not only did I not have a digital camera, but I didn't have a computer either. I was 65 years old.
Yeah.
And so they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but this old dog had to learn some new tricks. And the learning curve was straight up.
Yeah.
But I did it. And now I do pretty good with a computer in a lot of ways. You know, I do my own Photoshop and everything else.
Yeah.
But that was the other thing. You know, the Speedway, before they went to digital cameras, they would give us a bag of unexposed film in the morning, and we'd shoot it and give it back to them at the end of the race, and we'd go home and go to bed.
Oh.
Well, when they switched to, and we'd never see it again. We didn't own what we shot. We still don't own what we shot. But now, when they switched to digital, they didn't see fit to hire any file management people. And so they came up with their media people came up with like 32 different folders, and those folders would have as many as 10 subfolders in them.
Jeez.
And once we went digital, when the race was over, we had to go back to the media center, take every picture we took, and put it in the appropriate folder before we could go home.
Holy cow.
There's more than one Daytona 500 where the sun was shining bright the next day before I ever got out of the media
Is
center.
that right? My gosh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yep.
Well, let's change the subject just a little bit here, but knowing how this happens, did you ever take any photographs that they didn't want you to publish, or somebody else wanted to buy them from you?
Oh yeah, I had a sequence, several of those bad wrecks, like the one Ryan Newman had.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I had sequence pictures of those, and they said put those in a separate folder and put them on a jump drive or a disc or something that don't, just give them to the boss.
Yeah.
They didn't want people seeing those, and we weren't allowed to share our photos with anybody.
Yeah.
I'll be darned. Hey, we're going to take another quick break. We'll be right back with Don Bach and more stories.
The caution flag is out. Time for a break. We'll be right back with the Legends of Racing radio show. Racing's original North Turn is our broadcast headquarters. If you're looking for a good drink, great entertainment, and the best in food, they're right on the beach at Racing's original North Turn. Come on down to dinner tonight. Here are a couple of testimonials. These are actual testimonials from people who have enjoyed the North Turn. Been there many times, always great food and drinks, great location on the beach. And another, what a great experience. It's my new favorite restaurant in the Daytona Beach area, Racing's original North Turn on South Atlantic Avenue. That's A1A in Ponce Inlet, about 3.2 miles south of the Dunlawton Bridge and A1A intersection. It's Racing's original North Turn, a restaurant, museum, bar, gift shop, live music. That's Racing's North Turn. Thanks to you, the original North Turn Beach Bar and Grill has been voted top 10 beach bar in Florida year after year after year. We're back from where it all began. Racing's original North Turn Beach Bar and Grill. The Legends of Racing radio show continues with your host, Buzz McKim, and co-host, Gary Keller.
Oh, that should be Rich Combs today. This segment's being brought to you by Daytona Flea and Farmers Market, voted one of the top 5 markets in the country by USA Weekend. Visit our Shop Now network and our Shop Now at Daytona Flea and Farmers Market's Facebook page for the latest in vendor tours. And you were getting ready to talk about, I'm sorry, we got Bill. Bill, you got a question for us, Mr. Bill Cushion.
I do. Hi, Don.
Hello.
Nice to see you here. I actually have a 3-part question. Of all the pictures you've taken, I suppose you lost count a long time ago. Was there a picture that you missed that you wish you had taken? Was there a picture that you took you're sorry you took? And your very best shot that you said, my God, I got that, and no one else could ever got it?
Well, I'll answer the third one first. I had so many pictures that I liked that I could never name just one. And as far as a picture I took that I shouldn't have, I can't think of I ever did that. And the first question was what now?
Which one did you miss that you said, darn, I should have pulled the trigger and taken that one?
I got one of those for sure. When I first started working for the Speedway, Taylor Warren wouldn't allow a 35 millimeter on the property, so you had to use these 2 1/4. He had a Hasselblad because I would never been able to afford a Hasselblad, so I had this Mamiya Flex, and it only take 12 pictures. And I was standing up on turn 4 when they had that 50-some car pileup in the fourth turn of those modified cars.
Right.
And I was standing there with the camera in one hand with the back open and the roll of film in the other. No film in the camera. And they called me into the photo place. They sent a runner up there and said, Did you get that? Life magazine wants it.
Oh, Lord.
I had to tell them, nope, didn't get it.
Well, Don, your legend lives on. It's probably in the background where nobody understands it, but I know I've seen a lot of your work, and boy, I really appreciate having history there that a lot of us just didn't know about, and you captured it. Thank you.
Well, that's one thing that I do feel good about. I have a lot of people that have really appreciated the pictures that I got of them, and they treasure the pictures to this day. A lot of them 40 and 50 years ago even. And so that makes me feel good when people tell me that, and I hear that quite often.
Oh yeah, well there's photos that he took of yours truly here when I was driving, not racing, but driving at the land years ago. This is 1968, 69, 70, and we cherish those pictures too. We really appreciate
Buzz
you.
was running a 57 Chevy.
Yep. And not too well either.
Well, I made you look good.
Yeah, I looked real fast. The guy's a magician.
Yeah, I never photographed you behind anybody either.
That's true. Yeah, I appreciate that.
There,
Yeah.
that's what Rich was saying about you got to think.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Rich mentioned changing the subject a little bit. I want to say something a little different from my photography, but I want to talk about my son a little bit. My son was racing go-karts and doing really well. And Barbara Pierce's son worked for Petty Driving Experience.
Oh, really?
And he got my son a job for Petty buckling the people in before they go. He started out as a buckler.
Right.
But Barbara's son, I can't think of his name right now, he told them what a good go-kart racer he was. And you had the criteria for driving one of those cars as far as an instructor or anything like that was that you had to be a race driver. Well, somehow Barbara Pierce's son talked them into giving him a chance to drive at that time they had ride cars that you could ride in, or if you wanted to drive yourself, they had a pace car you had to follow.
Right.
And my son went out there in a pace car and set the most consistent lap times of any driver they had.
Really?
And he progressed from driving the pace car, the car that paced him, to driving the ride car.
All right.
And then they switched him over to Disney Speedway, and he would run 500 laps a day on Disney
Holy
Speedway.
cow.
But then
What a dream,
when
huh?
the Twin Towers hit, Petty stopped all that, said that no more tourists are going to come and all this stuff.
Right.
And about 2 months after that, he decided, yeah, the tourists are still coming. So he hired my son back, but they didn't give him any benefits or anything. They gave him only part-time.
Yeah.
Wasn't enough hours, my son had to quit. But the point I'm trying to make is I've been basically poor all my life. I never had the money to put him in an actual NASCAR race car, because I think he would have done really well. And that's one of my big resentments. I just couldn't do it. And I'm sure Rich and you both know that you got to know somebody and you got to have money if you want to go racing.
That's for sure.
And that's one of my biggest disappointments in life.
Well, what's Stevie doing now?
Well, he's doing really good. He started out as a maintenance manager for Concord. Started out as a maintenance man, maintenance man for Concord Properties. They own a lot of huge apartment complexes, including Morris Cove at Big Tree Road and Clyde Morris.
Oh, yeah.
He started out as a maintenance man there. Then he went up to assistant maintenance man at that complex. Then he went up to maintenance man of that complex. And now he is the regional maintenance director for Concord Properties.
Jeez, boy, that's nice.
Doing really good.
Good for him. Good for him.
Yeah.
Does he miss the racing?
Well, I mean, he still watches it on TV.
Yeah.
Like me.
Yeah.
I watch it on TV too.
Yeah. What do you think of racing nowadays?
I like it. They keep saying these next-gen cars are so equal, yet it seems like the Toyotas are winning everything.
Yeah.
I'm not too fond of that.
Yeah.
Well, I remember Pearl Harbor. They might make Toyotas in America, but it's still, the parts come from Japan and money goes to Japan.
Really?
I don't like Toyotas.
No. And we don't. A lot of us don't like Denny Hamlin either.
No,
But that's another
I'm
story.
on the Denny Hamlin, and I could tell some stories about some other drivers too, but I probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the people that were voted the most popular for years in a row, like Bill Elliott,
Mm-hmm.
he got that because he had a big fan base and they voted every day.
Yeah.
He was far from my favorite driver, I
Really?
guarantee you.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Jeez. How about Kowicki?
Yeah, Kowicki was real strange. He was real quiet and introvert almost. I knew of him and I had rubbed shoulders with him. I took pictures of him, but I didn't really know him.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have. He was driving a Ford, so I loved him.
Yeah, really. Hey, we're going to take
I'm
a
a
quick
Ford
break.
man.
Yeah. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back with Don Bach, everybody.
Yeah, Don.
The caution flag is out. Time for a break. We'll be right back with the Legends of Racing radio show. Daytona Flea and Farmers Market is still the one for great savings and the best variety. Whether you need flowers and trees for your home or you're looking for great prices on Daytona Beach souvenirs, the market is the place to go. The market features 1,000 booths, 2 air-conditioned malls, a restaurant, and 9 snack shacks. Hops Grill features gourmet burgers and garden blend salads. Treat yourself to a great variety of brat and hot dog creations at the Dog House, or enjoy a refreshing drink at the Seltzer Oasis. The market is open every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday and is 90% undercover, so you can shop rain or shine. There's never a charge for parking or admission. Enjoy our monthly classic car cruise-in on the first Saturday of every month and garage sale weekend, the third weekend of every month. See all we have to offer at DaytonaFleaMarket.com or like us on Facebook. Discover Daytona's most unique shopping experience, the Daytona Flea and Farmers Market, just a mile west of the Speedway. We're back from where it all began, racing's original North Turn Beach Bar and Grill. The Legends of Racing radio show continues with your host, Buzz McKim, and co-host, Gary Keller.
Oh, thank you so much, everybody. We do appreciate that. We're here with Don Bach. We're walking down memory lane, and just amazing. 58 years at Daytona Speedway, and going back to shooting on the beach back in '55. This segment's being brought to you locally by Homewood Suites by Hilton over on Bill France Boulevard, right around the corner from the Speedway. This complimentary happy hour and breakfast, and every room's a suite. And they're nice people, and if you have anybody coming to town, you want to impress them a little bit, get them hooked up with the Homewood Suites by Hilton. So we got some pictures right here that Don just happened to take of my wife and I, my mom, and some friends. And we thought they would be here today, and we were going to go ahead and give them these pictures. But another thing about Don, he's always so giving, almost to a fault, the way you used to give your stuff away.
That's why I'm broke, Buzz.
That's exactly right. I mean, he'd be out there shooting those sports cars all day long and then work all night long to get everything set up on the computer that he could send out to everybody and never ask for a penny. And it's just amazing, you know, he's just a very unusual person in that respect. You ever wonder why you did it? Because you loved it, I guess, right?
Yeah, I just loved it. I guess my father instilled the photography in me, and I just loved it. And it opened doors for me to let me do things that I loved that I wouldn't be able to do if I wasn't a photographer.
Right.
Just like Rich was saying, you know, you have to have. You get to go in places other people can't go.
Yeah, isn't that the great thing? It was the same way when I was painting signs. I got to go to all kinds of interesting places that nobody could get to, but I had to be there to paint the signs.
Yeah, and I remember all the great paintings you did, not only of race cars, but you were making paintings of Petty and all those people, and they were fabulous, and I don't know why you're not still doing it.
Yeah, well, old age, I'm broke.
Well, you wouldn't be broke if you'd start back doing those.
Well, maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got some already done.
See,
but
he's got a talent with a pen, and I got to have a camera. I can't draw nothing.
everybody's got their own art.
Well,
Yeah.
You know?
it's what you see,
Yeah,
you know, with your eyes. And,
exactly.
you know,
Oh, I see a lot of things I wouldn't be able to draw.
you know, what you're talking about is lifestyle. And some people have a job, some people have a career, and there's differences, you know. I hate it. I want to get home at 4 o'clock. Other people are still working at 12 at night.
Right.
That's the career. And then there's some people, that's what they do 24 hours a day, every day for 58 years.
Yep, that's him.
Because that's your lifestyle. You like it, you love it, you're living it. It's just wonderful. I'm so happy to be here today. I mean, I'm thrilled to listen to this. And I told him earlier, you know, you've had a great 50 years in front of me. I wish I'd have been with you. I wish I'd have been there. His history, his story is just absolutely wonderful. I don't know that I've done anything that would have been any better at any time than being able to go to all these racetracks, see all of these drivers, know them personally, have the history and the story behind it.
Yeah, and
We're in the midst of someone here to be honored.
Oh,
A
absolutely.
legend of racing.
How about that? Huh? This guy is
That's
a legend.
why we're here.
Absolutely.
You know, Buzz, we were talking about how when I worked at the Speedway, I had access and knew a lot of people like Richard Childress and a bunch of Leonard Wood, a bunch of those people. But even way back, Taylor Warren took a picture. I had a '67 Mustang, and I got tired of people telling me that Fords are found on the road dead or fixed or repaired daily. So I had a front license plate that said Ford first on race day.
There you go.
It was on the front license plate of my Mustang, and Taylor took a picture of A.J. Foyt and Mario Andretti on each side of that.
No kidding.
And I got to know AJ. One of the times when it was raining, they just had haulers then, regular open end haulers. They didn't have the fancy things they got now where they can shut the doors off and all that.
Right.
And it was raining one time, and AJ was just sitting in the back of the hauler, and I got in his hauler to get out of the rain. And I was racing radio control race cars at the time, and I was running 1/8 gas cars. They were really cool. They were gas powered, and they had a tuned pipe, and they had disc brakes, and and I was running a Can-Am, a Porsche 917 Can-Am body, and I asked AJ about the aerodynamics and the airflow. How did that compare to airflow on the real cars? And he went into great detail explaining to me that 1/8 scale is exactly the same if you break it down to 1/8 as the aerodynamics on a full-size car.
Really?
And
I'll be darned.
I just had a lot of conversations with a lot of really great people, and I miss that a lot because I don't ever see those people anymore.
Yeah.
But I do have pictures of me with AJ, and I have pictures of me with Mario, and I have pictures of me with Richard Childress, and I took a picture of the Wood brothers with Edsel Ford with them.
Oh, yeah.
And that picture, I told Edsel Ford, my good friend Mike Schumann that has Mike's Cars and Trucks down there, I told him this story about how when I was talking to Edsel Ford, I told him, I said, yeah, I got a really old F-150, but I like it because I like the style. I said, I don't like these new trucks with this big blunt front end. And Edsel told me, he said, well, if you don't like the ones now, you're not going to like the ones coming. And I told Mike that, and he said, I can't believe you told Edsel Ford you didn't like his truck. Wasn't exactly the way I meant it to be taken, but yeah, I've had a lot of laughs in my life too.
Yeah, I'll bet. Is there one picture that means the most to you?
Can't name one because I have so many.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've taken literally millions of pictures.
Jeez.
Literally.
You ever shoot Fireball?
Yeah, sure did. Yeah, he was racing when I first started at Daytona. He got killed in Charlotte.
Yeah.
But yeah, Fireball, Curtis Turner, all those guys.
Boy, oh boy.
I photographed them on the beach
Jeez, that must have been something.
and out at Daytona.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Buck Baker, all those guys. Tim Flock.
Man, oh man. Yeah, shooting on the beach must have been quite an adventure, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll remember. One of the things I remember about the motorcycle race, which they kept the motorcycles on the beach a couple of years after Daytona was built.
Right.
And the turns would get real soft and real full of ruts.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember this guy crashed, and they helped him up, and he had put his leg back like that.
Oh man.
And I thought he had cut his leg off.
Yeah.
I got all upset, and he just was holding his leg up. He was all right.
Oh, jeez.
But
Hey,
yeah,
well,
I don't know. Doc, where's Doc? He can tell you about racing on the beach and that sand. I don't know how the hell they made it through those grooves. And it's sand to get deeper and deeper every lap.
Yeah. Hey, we're going to take another quick break. We'll be right back with Don Bach and more stories.
The caution flag is out. Time for a break. We'll be right back with the Legends of Racing radio show. Welcome to Homewood Suites by Hilton in Daytona Beach. You're right in the middle of all the action. Daytona International Speedway, the airport, One Daytona, Florida's newest entertainment and retail destination, and of course, the world's most famous beach. You'll love our newly remodeled 1- and 2-bedroom suites, along with our popular King Studios. You won't need your full kitchen, as Homewood Suites Daytona serves up complimentary breakfast and evening social. It's like home away from home. Go to HomewoodDaytona.com for Homewood Suites by Hilton in Daytona Beach. We're back from where it all began. Racing's original North Turn Beach Bar and Grill. The Legends of Racing radio show continues with your host, Buzz McKim, and co-host, Gary Keller.
Yeah, thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate that. Rich Combs is here helping us out today. We're here with Don Bach, 58 years at Daytona Speedway, and way before that on the beach, and Le Mans, and short track, and motorcycles, and you name it. And this segment's being brought to you locally by the Legends of Racing Foundation, and we're set up to help folks who were help make the history, who might be going through a tough time. We're there to help, and so you'll hear more about the foundation as time goes on. So, what year did you go to Le Mans?
1980.
Oh, really? Was Paul Newman running that year?
Beg your pardon?
Was Paul Newman running that year?
No.
No, he wasn't.
No, but I photographed Paul Newman out at Daytona several times. He didn't never like it.
Right.
And, they actually gave him a separate garage, and the water fountain was in the end right inside the door.
Mm-hmm.
I went in to get a drink of water, and his bodyguard come there and tried to throw me out.
Jeez.
He later denied that.
Yeah.
It happened.
Is that right?
But another story about Paul Newman, which I probably shouldn't tell, but
Oh, go ahead.
I met this guy. The AP had sent this photographer down to shoot Paul when he was racing a Ferrari in 24 Hours of Daytona.
Right.
And I went to go through this gate at the back of the pits, and this guy was standing there. I said, "What are you doing standing here? How are you going to take any pictures here?"
Yeah.
He says, "Well, you see that motorhome over there?"
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, that's where Paul Newman is. He's due to drive soon, and he's got to come through this gate." He told me I couldn't take any pictures of him, but he had a fairly long lens on. All he was going to do when he got out of the motorhome at a distance, he was going to take his picture, which he did.
Yeah.
So he came up there, and Paul Newman came up there and told him, he says, "I just want you to know that, in my opinion, you're the biggest asshole on this world."
Jeez.
And the guy looked him right in the eye and never blinked, said, "Paul, I can't tell you how glad I am to know that your opinion of me is much higher than my opinion of you."
Very good.
That's a
Very
gospel
good.
fact, because I was standing there, heard that myself.
Oh, man. Back in '74, he was here running a modified, and I had a little pocket camera, a little pocket Kodak kind of thing there, and I just happened to look over, and here he is walking down there with two of his crew members carrying his own intake manifold. Neither one of the crew members were carrying it. He was carrying the intake manifold. I got a beautiful picture of them. It's my favorite shot of anything I've ever taken a picture of.
Who was it?
Paul Newman.
Oh, he's carrying his own manifold?
Yep, carrying his own manifold. Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
That photographer would have told him where to put that.
Yes, he would have. But that is a great story. Oh, man.
Now, from a different standpoint, I raced with Paul Newman, or raced in the same races with him at the same place, and like when he would come to Road Atlanta, he would have a motorhome, and Joanne would be with him sometimes on that, and you couldn't get close to him during the racing, but they would stay on site at night, and if you were there racing or working, getting your car, he would be there at night talking to you, riding.
Yeah, he just didn't like media.
Yeah, he was a perfect gentleman.
But, I got to say, Sarah Gertis was a good friend of his, and, of course, a good friend of mine. She worked at the Speedway for a long time. And through Sarah, I got to know Paul, and in the last few years he was racing there, I didn't have any problem with him.
Yeah. Well, he was a hell of a good racer.
That's the way it was. If he knew you, it was okay. But if you wanted a picture or an autograph, he could be a real butt.
Really? Yeah, Sarah was involved in the kids' camp that Paul was involved in.
Yeah.
She became one of the directors out there.
Last I heard, she was working for the senior citizen thing.
Whatever. Oh, that's right. Yeah, here in town.
Council on Aging.
That's right. That's exactly right.
I don't know if she's still there, but
yeah she's a good girl.
People.
Yeah. Well, you've had a heck of a life. Is there anything you change?
Oh, yeah, I would have found a procession that made some money. I still enter these stupid sweepstakes where you win $50,000 supposedly.
Yeah, right.
I never win nothing.
No, you shot surfing too, didn't you?
Huh?
You shot surfing also?
Oh yeah.
Huh?
Back in the early '60s, I was a Southeast regional photographer for Surfing East magazine.
Wow.
And that's another thing I loved. I couldn't do it. I don't have any balance from day one to now.
Yeah.
I couldn't surf. If you put a gun to my head and said, surf or I'll shoot you, I'd say pull the trigger because I couldn't do it. But I loved it, so I photographed it.
Yeah. Oh, that's
I
something.
can tell you a story about that, too. One time there was a hurricane and big waves, so I went and got some flippers. I figured I'm going to need flippers with this strong waves and stuff. First wave it hit me, ripped them flippers right off. I had a Nikonos underwater camera that was going to go out in the surf with them.
Oh, that's good, yeah.
And the first wave it hit me, ripped those flippers right off, and the current started taking me right straight for the pier.
Jeez.
And I'm looking at that pier, and these pillars are this big around, just covered with barnacles.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, this is it. I'm going to die a horrible death. But the pillars were about this far apart, and I was heading for one, so I started swimming at an angle, and I started swimming as hard as I could go, and I made it through to the other side of the pier without hitting a pillar.
Oh, my gosh.
And the next day, I went and bought a lens this long, and never went back in the surf again.
No more surf shooting.
No more surf shoots from the surf.
Did you ever find the flippers?
Oh, no. Heck no.
They were long gone, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, how many years did you shoot the surfing?
Huh?
How many years did you shoot the surfing?
I still shoot it when I can.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll
just
be
for
darned.
fun. I've tried to sell surf pictures. Surfers ain't got no money. They say, hey, here's my email. Send me the pictures.
Yeah, right.
For free.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Jeez.
That's what I mean. That photography is bad news if you want to make money. But, I mean, I've said several times now, it's been a lot of pleasure for me, but no money.
Yeah. Yeah, no real regrets though, right? I mean, life's been pretty good to you for the most part. You know, you got life. You know, you got a beautiful wife. You've got a kid that's successful, and you've been able to do what you want to do.
A lot to be thankful for, Buzz.
Yeah.
A lot of things are wrong right now, but I count my blessings every day.
That's great.
Yep.
Yeah. Anything that you never got to do that you wanted to do?
Oh boy, we've got another hour. You know, I wanted to go to the Air Force Academy, and my dad had a friend that was good friends with the governor. You had to be nominated to by the governor to go to the Air Force Academy.
Oh, yeah.
So I had that all lined up, and they gave me workbooks to study for the entrance exam. And I flunked the physical because they said I was colorblind. Those circles with the dots where you got to pick a number out, I couldn't see it, but I know that's red.
Yeah.
And but they said I was colorblind, so I couldn't go. And I didn't want to spend 4 years doing watching somebody else do what I wanted to do. But it probably ended up for the best because I probably was too tall to fly anything but a cargo plane. I wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah, I guess not. Well, this has been great. We've really had a good time with Don. But hasn't he been fantastic, everybody?
Oh, yeah, wonderful.
What a great story.
Yeah.
Great story. And we got some folks we got to thank. We thank Danny for working the board and Mike with the applause signs, Mad Dog Mike. And now, Tom, is this your last week here? Yeah, you going to be leaving this week? Well, we're going to miss you. Tom and Vicky, they've been great all summer. Yeah. And we got Jersey Jim over there with his whole entourage down here for my mom's memorial for tomorrow. And thank you for coming down, you guys. Appreciate that. Yeah, and Doc Basselier, we're always happy to see you. Thank you. Yeah, and Johnny Allen, the beach racer. Yeah, and Russ Parker too, the son of the great Pal Parker, and not a bad photographer in his own right, for sure. Well, this has been great, and we're going to have another great show next week. And are you going to be co-host next week?
I will be here with you.
Hot dog. All right.
I mean, let's bring him back. I want to hear that other hour. I want to hear the really good story.
Yeah, okay. All right, we're going to hold you to that, Don.
Yeah, okay.
Don Bach, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
The Legends of Racing radio show originates live from the very spot where beach racing began. Racing's North Turn Beach Bar and Grill. Join us next time for the Legends of Racing radio show.